Every time I think I have finally figured out the political scheme of things, and I believe I've understood how politics is supposed to work, it becomes an absolute double-edged sword. Because what you think is actually happening or should be happening turns out to be smoke and mirrors, regardless of which party you want to follow. Democrats or Republicans, doesn't matter. Whether you're a liberal or a conservative, that doesn't matter either. You know, I started off my life in a very well-established Democrat family in southern Louisiana. At the time, most Democrats in the South were good, hardworking people that were part of the JFK years. I was born in 1961. So it took going into the United States military in 1985 for me to, I guess, wake up and realize that the Democrat Party was not the party that I was led to believe it was. And I switched parties and I became a Republican. Today, I'm more of an independent, I guess, because the Democrats have some good ideas still, as do the Republicans. But the comedian Lewis Black once said something that resonates very well with me. And that is, the Democrats come to the table with a party, with a suggestion, with an idea that is very shitty. And the Republicans come along and say, we have a way to make it even shittier. And that's what we're faced with today. Today's Democrat Party is not the same party of the JFK years. It's been hijacked by the far left. And they've hijacked every possible avenue, section, every ability that can possibly be pushed to get into positions of power to control the narrative of our country. But on the Republican side, we have a bunch of rhinos, and the Democrats do as well. But we have a bunch of politicians that shouldn't be there. No way, shape, or form. And in most cases, I'm happy to say that when other Republicans point out what a particular Republican congressman or senator is doing that's not in our best interests, in general, the party votes them out and puts somebody else in that position. Where the Democrats, on the other hand, do not. They double down and they keep their corrupt people in power. Look at Chappaquidda, for instance. Here's a guy who literally, you could say, murdered a woman and got away with it and still got voted in. And that's Ted Kennedy. And the list goes on, and there's corruption on both sides. But every time I think at least that I've got this, I know the right direction. I know where we should be headed. I find out that others that we put in Washington, D.C. do not feel the same way. Now, they might feel that way, or at least they say they do, when they're running for office. No, they're good at talking. But once they get into office, many of them quit. They quit on the American people, Democrats and Republicans. And all they care about is their book deal they're going to do, or business adventures they're going to get involved with, and ways to make themselves literally millionaires. And the longer they stay in there in a job that only pays $100,000 a year or so, the more millions they make. And that in itself should be enough for every American to realize we should have term limits. And these people should not be allowed to continue to be there for years and years and years and years and years and decades, decades. Joe Biden, for instance, comes to mind. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, and many more on the Democrat side. But look at Mitch McConnell. Why? He's just one of many Democrats or Republicans that shouldn't be there anymore. They should pack their shit up and leave. And they're not going to. No, they're going to stay put right there until we, the people, demand term limits and stop this silliness. Take AOC, for example. This woman went from bartending, and nothing against bartenders, but you don't make much money bartending. I know that because at one point in my life, I owned a bar. And now she's a multimillionaire. Where's the FBI on this and the Department of Justice looking into how these people are becoming millionaires? Well, we know that the FBI and the Department of Justice, well, it's a two-tier justice system now. One for Democrats and one for Republicans, which is something else that sucks really, really bad. Shouldn't be that way. Lady Justice wears a blindfold for a reason. While I continue to try and figure out where this nation's going and how it's going to get there, when I look at the playing field of who we've sent to Washington, D.C., I only see a handful of Republicans or Democrats that I would rescue if they fell off a sinking ship. And there's many Republicans and Democrats up in Washington, D.C. that I wouldn't spit in their mouth if they were dying of thirst, because they're that corrupt and that much full of hatred and anti-American, more or less communism type attitude. And that needs to stop. Needs to stop in both parties. We have to find a way to come together. Find a way that we as Americans can work together for the same things. Because Democrats and Republicans, believe it or not, I've learned have a lot of things in common. Of course, there are many things that we don't, and we don't agree on. But it doesn't mean we can't work towards solving these problems and trying to find a way to do good for we the people. Whether it's securing our borders, money for law enforcement to do their jobs, doesn't matter. National defense, the list is wide. What matters is that American citizens feel safe. And the only way to do that is when you have people that you put in powerful positions in Congress, in the Senate, or at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, that actually wake up every morning thinking, what can I do today to better the American way of life? What can I do today to honor our forefathers and our Constitution instead of tearing it down and looking at them as disgusting, horrible bigots that many do? Those are just a few thoughts, things that run through my head when I try and piece this all together and determine what needs to happen and how it needs to happen. I've got so many good ideas and so many things that I wish those in power would pay attention to. And so do you. Many Americans, many, on both sides of the aisle, have some great, great ideas of how we can do things to make this a better country and a better place for all humanity that comes here. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our Blue and Gold Star families, our Angel families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. And may God bless each and every one of you. Tune in Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube for the Douglas Ducote Show. Thank you and God bless.